6 families returned him. 614 days across 3 different kennels and an intake file that one staff member had quietly marked with a single red dot in the corner, the code they used when they had stopped expecting a happy ending. Then, a 27-year-old woman named Diane walked past Kennel 9 on a Thursday morning, and Duke lifted his head for the first time in 6 weeks. What happened 108 days later at 3:19 in the morning ended every argument anyone had ever made against this dog. Nobody wanted him. Not the first family, not the second, not the third, fourth, fifth, or sixth. 6 families in 21 months walked into that shelter, looked at this 88-pound German Shepherd, and came back without him. The shelter staff had a name for his kennel that they never wrote down. They called it the end of the hall. Then Diane showed up. The intake file on Duke was 5 pages long. He had been surrendered at 16 months by his original owner, a man who left no forwarding address and no explanation beyond a single line on the surrender form. 2 attached. That was it. A dog who loved too much, handed over a front desk and the door closing behind him. In the 21 months that followed, Duke moved through 6 homes and came back from all of them. The reasons the families gave read like a list of inconveniences rather than facts. Follows me room to room. Won't sleep unless he can hear me breathing. Barked at a man who shoved me in a parking lot. Cried for 4 hours when I left for work. That third one, read it again. An 88-pound German Shepherd barked at a man who physically shoved his owner in a parking lot and was returned to a shelter for it. By the time Diane found him, Duke had been in Kennel 9 for 231 days without a single application. He had stopped standing when staff did their morning rounds. He had stopped finishing his meals. The shelter director, a man named Gerald, had pulled her aside the morning she inquired and told her the truth without dressing it up. 614 days does something to a dog that we can't always undo. Diane had not come to adopt a dog that Thursday. She was picking up paperwork for a rescue transport. She was 3 minutes from the exit when she passed Kennel Line. Duke was on his side against the back wall, the position Gerald called the flat, the posture that meant a dog had stopped performing hope for anyone who walked by. Diane stood at the gate and did not move for a long time. Then Duke opened his eyes. He looked at her. He didn't stand, he didn't make a sound. He just looked at her, the way a dog looks when it has spent 614 days being looked at and has finally stopped looking back, except that this time, something made him look anyway. Diane asked Gerald about him. Gerald told her everything, the 6 returns, the 5 pages, the red dot. He told her trust broken 6 times does not rebuild on a schedule, and this dog would need someone who understood that. Diane listened. Then she said, "I have nowhere to be tomorrow." Gerald went to get the forms. The first 4 days were almost entirely silent. Duke did not bark, did not react to street noise or the sound of her phone or the upstairs neighbor's dog scratching at the floor above them. He moved through Diane's apartment like a dog who had learned to exist in spaces without belonging to them, careful and contained, taking up exactly as much room as he needed to and not 1 inch more. On the 5th night, Diane sat on the floor with her back against the wall and watched something on her laptop with the volume low. Duke watched her from across the room for 31 minutes. Then he stood up and lay down 6 inches from her knee. He did not touch her, he just chose the same floor. Gerald had told her that 6 inches was everything. I see you still haven't subscribed. That honestly breaks my heart a little. Hit that button. You need to see what happens next. By day 9, Duke had a position. Every morning at 6:41, he walked to the front door, stood there, checked, then walked to Diane's bedroom doorway and waited. When she appeared, his tail moved once, slow and deliberate, like punctuation at the end of 614 days of silence. Diane worked from home most days. Duke settled beside her desk at 8:50 and did not move until the laptop closed, 2 feet away, present, without making it anyone's problem. Her sister called once with a warning she had read online about the breed, about dominance, about risk. Diane said, "The only thing dominant about him is how much attention he pays." German Shepherds do not simply respond to their environment, they map it. Every lock, every window, every shift in Diane's schedule. Duke filed all of it. He was not being obsessive, he was building something, and Diane was at the center of it. Duke had been with her for 108 days when he proved all 6 of them wrong in a way that cannot be argued with. 3:19 in the morning. Diane was asleep. The apartment was dark. Duke was in his position at the end of the hallway, facing the front door, the same place he had chosen every single night without being asked. Nothing was different. And then, everything was. No bark, no growl. He crossed the hallway in 5 steps, pushed Diane's bedroom door open with his nose, walked to her side of the bed, and pressed his head against her arm. Once, twice, 3 times. Not a nudge, something harder than that. Something that reached through sleep and landed somewhere below thought. She sat up. He had already turned toward the window. She followed him. Smoke, coming from below, thin and patient, the kind that builds long before anyone knows to be afraid. Diane grabbed her phone. She opened her front door and the smell thickened. She called 911. She took Duke's leash from the hook beside the door and they went down 2 flights together, Duke exactly beside her in the stairwell, not pulling, not rushing, his shoulder close enough to her leg that she could feel him there in the dark. The fire department arrived in 9 minutes. A dryer fire in the unit below hers, smoldering inside the wall. No alarm triggered, no smoke yet visible, just building, quietly, in the space between one floor and another. 3 units were damaged. Diane's was one of them. She stood in the street at 3 in the morning, Duke pressed against her leg, watching the trucks. And she thought about 5 pages of intake notes, about 614 days, about 6 families who handed back a leash and never looked back. He had spent 614 days learning to pay attention because attention was the one thing no one could take back. He had given it to every person who walked past that kennel, and then he had given it to Diane. 6 families gave up on Duke. 1 woman gave him 108 nights, and on the 108th night, he gave her everything back. Would you have given him a 7th chance or walked away like the rest? Tell me in the comments.